Hello, thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today is the review that's been requested the most throughout the first year of this channel.
You let me violate you. You let me desecrate you.
So, The Downward Spiral. In 2004, it was released on both DualDisc and on SACD by way of the deluxe edition. It's cool that we have the option of either. With the DualDisc, you get a DVD audio layer, you get on-screen graphics and some bonus videos. With the SACD, you get excellent multi-channel sound that can autoplay on a lot of players and doesn't need a monitor. With the deluxe edition, you also get a bonus CD with demos and remixes, and it's actually a very interesting listen. So it's cool that we have both. Depending on how you have your system set up, the discs can perform differently. They are the same mix, they are the same mastering, but sometimes SACD doesn't work with bass management, and DVD audio does more or less by default. In the case of Downward Spiral, if I don't use bass management, I miss some of the most satisfying, powerful bass on this album. So I can either pop the SACD in my Blu-ray player that's set up to output SACD as PCM, or I can just play the DualDisc. Some people feel that converting SACD to PCM defeats the purpose of the SACD, but that may be a topic for another video. Happily, we have the choice between either, and they're also available rather affordably. If you look between Amazon, eBay, and Discogs, you can find copies of either in the $10 to $30 range. Not bad. The music. If you were around in the 90s, and particularly if you were a rebellious teenager, the reputation of this music precedes itself. But for the uninitiated, this isn't so much accessible pop as it is a tortured artistic statement. It handles some dark and challenging themes, and so for some people it may not be as enjoyable as music that doesn't. Standout tracks for me include Heresy, March of the Pigs, Closer, and of course, Hurt. While I think that the definitive version of Hurt is the cover by Johnny Cash that he did in his Rick Rubin years late in his career, Hurt is beautifully presented here. The sound of this album ranges from the absolute, all-out, wall of sound, buzzsaw guitar tone, like in Mr. Self-Destruct, to some rather chill, peaceful moments, like in A Warm Place. Mastered by Bob Ludwig, this surround album does sound fantastic. Bob Ludwig has worked with a wide variety of artists, from Judy Collins to Metallica. Notably, he mastered the 5.1 mix of Roxy Music's Avalon, which I just happened to have recently reviewed. The Downward Spiral was mixed into 5.1 by James Brown and Trent Reznor. James Brown has worked with the likes of Jeff Beck, the Foo Fighters, U2, and in addition to mixing the Downward Spiral into 5.1, he also did the 5.1 mix of With Teeth for the DVD audio. Typically, the 5.1 mix for the Downward Spiral has the main vocals up in the front left and right, along with the main drum parts, a lot of synth parts, and a lot of guitar parts. You'll often have alternate synth parts in the surrounds, along with background vocals and additional guitars. It's fair to say that main parts tend to be up front and supportive parts tend to be in the rear, but this album is not a set it and forget it type of thing. Any given part can appear in any given channel. It just depends on the song and even down to the moment of the song. A notable moment is during Ruiner, when a pretty wicked lead guitar part is featured in the surround right, while a supportive percussion part is featured in the surround left. Another killer moment of this mix is at the end of Closer, when synths and guitars spiral around the room in a counterclockwise fashion, creating an audible downward spiral. The Downward Spiral is pretty challenging thematically and musically at times. Nonetheless, this is an absolutely iconic album and very meaningful, particularly if you grew up in the 90s or if you're just into the sort of thing that Trent Reznor does. The 5.1 mix and the mastering are extremely well done and are complementary to the music. Unlike some out-of-print titles, this thing can still be found quite affordably. If you can handle the music, it is well worth putting on for the surround experience. I recommend the SACD if you want the ease of autoplay, and I recommend the DualDisc if you want the bonus videos, the on-screen graphics, and bass management by default. Aside from the Downward Spiral in 5.1, we have With Teeth on DVD audio, and Beside You in Time, the concert on Blu-ray, mixed by Elliot Shiner, so this is highly recommended. And who knows, maybe Trent Reznor will be inclined to mix more of his output into surround someday. If you're into Nine Inch Nails or surround music, don't forget to subscribe. Leave your comments below. I appreciate you watching. And until next time, live life in surround.